Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes even. The question has always been asked by every Manchester United fan, when are we going to shift out the old guard, replace the old players? Well, there is a plan in place and transfer talk is actually going on right now for Manchester United summer. And this so-called Mission 21, Manchester United winning the Champions League, the Premier League in 2028, does need to see some significant investment into the transfer market. Them plans are now being revealed in different stories around all of the speculation columns and media around certain players. Manchester United obviously looking at Quenda. More scouts there again last night. We'll talk about him this morning. Chris Rigg, the starlet from Sunderland, the player that is supposedly the next best thing to come out of the Championship. Past Jude Bellingham. That's what they're saying right now. And then the swerve ball. Hugo Larsson from Frankfurt. Manchester United in pole position for all three of these targets going into the summer. Is this the right way to go about this transformation of Manchester United? If we're not going to be using the older players, is it time we replace them with the future of Manchester United? The maximum age of all targets so far that we're looking at in them areas in defence and midfield this summer is 20. Manchester United looking to strengthen their squad in a way that's going to be able to perform for the next decade, it would seem. We're going to get your comments on this in the live show this morning. Are these players enough to start turning Manchester United around? Because let's be honest, nobody's going to be convinced that this is going to change straight away. People will always say, and I'm sure that people will always be commenting, even on my shows, saying, look, this isn't going to do anything. It's going to need significant. Well, it's not going to happen overnight. So let's concentrate on the actual transfer targets and let's see what they can do in turning things around and start to change things, because nobody is under any illusion at Manchester United that this is going to be a quick fix. Ineos have given themselves a target here. Ineos have said that Manchester United are going to be winning the league in 2028. They've called it. They've called out the 150th year anniversary of the football club. This is going to look quite embarrassing. So this summer has to be significant. And it may not be in the realms of big marquee names and big signings, but Manchester United's investment is going to be purely in production of better players to work within a system that we know Ineos have invested in Ruben Amorim, and giving him the reins and the power to do what he wants. So this summer is huge for Manchester United. We're going to talk about all of these players because they all seem to be of the same sort of profile, which is very, very young and, let's just say, probably the best young talent that's out there. It all leads into that comment from the very start of Ineos' reign. We want to find the next Mbappe, not buy the next Mbappe. This is going to be Manchester United's transfer tactic going forward. But I want to talk about these three players in particular, and we'll bring in the others as well and what's happening with all other Manchester United news as well. But while we have got the opportunity now with these breaks and these gaps in between matches for Manchester United, we can start to look into depth to what is actually going on, what these players actually bring, and why Manchester United are indeed looking at them. As you can see at the tweet at the bottom of your screen right now from Portugal, it's basically around Manchester United again watching Giovanni Quenda. I don't think there needs to be much scouting report on him. I think obviously you could say also on this side of things there is two birds with one stone. Obviously with Victor Gyökeres being a top target for Manchester United this summer also, we could possibly see Manchester United scouts looking at both, and United going for a double swoop onto Sporting's playing staff this summer. Obviously we know that Ruben Amorim knows them players and trusts them players, and I think it's been well documented and well written about Giovanni Quenda being a top target now for Manchester United. He is top dog when it comes to Manchester United's list right now, and we know of concrete interest. 35 million apparently is the mark for Quenda. That was what was said in The Athletic. That's obviously going to fluctuate and it's going to change, but I think on that right-hand side, now we've seen obviously Dorgu play on the left-hand side. It's starting to all make sense a little bit. I think Dorgu will still be versatile and play on both sides. I think Ruben will use him and utilise his qualities of being two-footed and being able to use both on each wing-back position. So we'll see how the season pans out with him. But obviously, again, this takes us into the transfer and the summer, which is coming with the likes of Diogo Dalot. Is he going to be a standby reserve player? because if Quenda's coming in, I don't see Dalot starting games. And that's going to be interesting, because that takes us into maybe Dalot being surplus to requirements, especially with the investment coming in from Manchester United in younger players at fullback, in the likes of Diego Leon, and other players coming through Manchester United's academy, in fact. And obviously we've talked about Wesley as well being a top target for United from Flamengo. He's a right wing back as well. So where does Dalot fit in this? Is there a transfer plan? And it gives you the chance right now with time to actually look into deals like this and what repercussions will come from it for other players at Manchester United. It's why I went into the Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Eriksen talk right at the top of the show, because we know that Eriksen and Casemiro are going to be moved on in the summer. Eriksen definitely is already going out of contract, along with a few other Manchester United players like Johnny Evans and Victor Lindelof. Some of the old guard definitely being moved out. But in midfield, Casemiro is going to be a tough one to move on, and United probably won't get what money they want for him. So they're going to have to invest in younger talent, which is going to be the likes of the Chris Riggs of this world, who can play in several midfield roles. And that's why we're looking at someone from the Championship for 25 million. Can United afford to lose out on the next Jude Bellingham? I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm not saying he's as good. But the numbers that he's putting up, he's at 17. He's already into his second full season at Sunderland. So experienced at 17. He's going to be turning 18 in June. He is seen as the next best thing coming out. And everybody who's anybody is looking at Chris Riggs. So you know that he has got that talent. You know that he has got what it takes to play at the top level. He will be moving this summer one way or the other. Now, Sunderland still could get promotion, and that may change things. So let's just look at the reality side of that as well. United are definitely in for Rigg. We know this from everything that's been reported, along with everybody else. But if Sunderland get promoted, that price may change, and Manchester United may have to move to different targets if Sunderland start to dig their heels in as such. Because if Sunderland don't get promoted, money for Rigg is going to come in very, very handy. And as you can see at the bottom of your screen going across there, the source is close to Rigg and the situation and what's going on right now are that a deal for 25 million, and Sunderland are expecting bids to come in and are reluctant sellers, but I've seen the reality that Chris Rigg will probably end up moving on at the end of the season anyway. So 25 million is the mark for him. And I'm going to come to the live chat shortly as well on all of these targets and talk about whether you think that they are good enough and if you feel like this is the right way to go forward in replacing the older players. It is unproven, but I've said this before. Do United have to accept also, and bear this in mind when you're thinking about whether you see Manchester United as a challenging side anymore or where we actually are. The last 2 seasons have proven that this squad is a mid-table squad. So we're looking at players that realistically are of that calibre. You're hoping that you're going to use the Manchester United name, try and entice these players in to be the next players to take United forward again and rebuild Manchester United with players that are from the Championship or that aren't so much marquee and well-beating players. Like if United do win the Europa League and get into the Champions League, this transfer window could take on a new lease of life again. I just don't see United having enough in them right now to actually get that. And I think United's planning is just and is definitely the right track to be on in terms of the talent that we're looking at in the likes of Rigg and Quenda. I mean, Quenda's playing Champions League football. If we manage to get him, that has to be seen as a coup anyway, because there'll be talent, there'll be big clubs looking at him all over the world. I mean, you look at Liverpool, for instance, losing Trent Alexander-Arnold in the summer to Madrid. Then they're going to be all over that Quenda deal as well. So it's all down to Manchester United's relationship with Sporting, which is exceptional, as we know. Obviously, Ruben Amorim being the man that brought Quenda through. We've got them feathers in our cap, which could possibly work in our favour. Obviously, United do have to pull out all the stops and are going to be working overtime. And preparation is key for Manchester United going into the summer. It's the only reason we're talking a little bit more about transfers now. Well, we can. I know the window isn't open for a while yet, but this is now where Manchester United will be doing their hard negotiating. They need to be getting everything in place right now to be ready for when that summer window opens. And Quenda, I feel, is one that I think they will want to snap up very quickly. I could, in fact, even see a pre-negotiated contract or agreement in place before the season ends with Quenda. That seems to be how far down the line this deal is from what everybody said so far. So we secure that right-hand side wing-back. Obviously, we've got Dorgu and Leon on the left-hand side as well, and obviously interchanging with Dorgu for the right. Whether we bring in another Perhaps wing back, I'm not too sure. And then obviously you'll see the likes of Ahmad pushing forward, possibly more into that 10, predominantly more. And that leaves that midfield hole. And that's the key one. Like we just said, with Christian Eriksen definitely going, with Casemiro surplus to requirements, he's definitely going to go this summer. You know he is. He can't get on the pitch. He can't get on the pitch in a bloody FA Cup game against the reserve Leicester side, for God's sake. So we know that Casemiro is going to be leaving at the end of the season. So that's a big hole. You've got Ugarte, you've got Collier, you've got Kobbie Mainoo. We talked about Kobbie Mainoo's struggles last night and where he fits in. He's now turned into a squad player at Manchester United and not a first-team player under Ruben Amorim. I think Ruben Amorim has exposed some of Mainoo's weaknesses within his own system. So I think Mainoo is going to be within the rotation, if not sold in the summer. We don't know what's happening there yet, because like we said, if you're going to make a big move and you're going to be preparing to be winning the Premier League in 2028 and calling this out as your big mission 150th year anniversary of Manchester United, blah de blah, then something big has to happen in these next 2 transfer windows for United to be there. And this summer has to be a transfer window which you really think is going to change United so we are challenging for the Champions League places. That's what it has to be. And that's where I'm going to come to the comment section in a minute. I will get there, trust me. I just wanted to make everything clear. And I promise you, I'm not trying to convince you either way here with this. It's totally open to you. But when you look at these players coming in, the ones that we're talking about right now, I want to ask the question, are they good enough to challenge for the top 4? I've got more to talk about in a minute, but I do want to come to the comment section now. I've gone on long enough in the opening there of the video. Please do give the video a like, by the way. Make sure that you are subscribed as well to Forever United TV. We are building up to Tottenham this weekend. Huge game. The players are away on holiday, having a break at the moment. So it is looking ahead a little bit right now. That's what it feels like. We're looking to the future of Manchester United, I feel, here a little bit. But get your comments in now, please, everybody. We have got a poll running also. Which of these players excite you the most? Rig, Quenda or Larson? We're going to talk about Hugo Larsson in a moment. Quenda is the most excited one so far, according to the poll. Keep voting on that, please, everybody. Happy birthday as well to Stu, one of our top mods in the chat. I hope you have a great day, my friends. Big birthday, big ups to you, my man. Let's get into the comments section now and see what you all saying about these signings or possible incomings at Manchester United in the summer. Is youth the way forward? Is this the key to Manchester United challenging again? Or do we need to look at some better players, more experienced and quality players to help these players come through? Because we've all moaned about the old guard being outed. The older players need to go. But where does the leadership then come from? Do we have to build that from within, through our youth as well? And that's the question. And I think that's the balancing act in this as well. It's like, can you get rid of everyone? I don't think you can personally, but let's see what you're all saying. Are Manchester United going to be in a position to buy these players? Highly probable. There will be no European football, and bottom half finish will seriously dent things financially. This is why we are doing business now. This is why we are trying to negotiate deals in now. And like I said with Quenda, he's a Champions League football player. He is playing week in, week out at the top level. And this is now United's relationship with Sporting, and obviously the relationship between Quenda and Ruben Amorim is the only reason why I think United are in pole position for Quenda and why we are trying to move quickly on this. I do believe there will be some form of release clause in these deals. United have to be careful with this, but they also need to bank on 2028 actually being the year that we lift the title. So if they're saying that we're going to be challenging and winning the league in 2028, which is in 3 years' time, then there needs to be a big shift in the transfer market. And within negotiations, you could say that there is a release clause, and if United are not in the Champions League challenging for the top 4, or even the Premier League in the next couple of seasons, there will be a release clause within for a certain amount for these players to leave Manchester United. I don't think United really want to negotiate that in, but the agents will be going in with these players and saying, look, you're 13th in the league. Yes, United's name is great, but what guarantees does my client have that this is actually going to turn around? And that's where I think negotiations become difficult for United, but I think there will be a reality element to it. United are going to have to push the boat out a little bit to get these players in, And rather than spending fortunes on wages, which we've all bemoaned before, there has to be certain stipulations and clauses within these deals and negotiations which suit the players, that if things don't move forward, they are young enough, which is why I think we are going for younger players, that they've still got time to make another move down the line if United don't become this force again. The power of Manchester United is still there. It is. We are a laughingstock on the field right now. But the lure of being part of Manchester United is still massive. It's hard to comprehend. It really is. I've seen transfer windows where United, you'd have thought like nobody would want to come to United because of the way that we're playing or where we are, not being in Europe. But we still managed to attract big players. It's weird how it works. And obviously at that time, you were probably getting a bit more money. Ed Woodward was being stupid in the transfer window. But still, like we did manage to get them in. But I don't think it's going to be big wages with Ineos. So they have to be clever in other ways. I think that's how United have to approach it. But there will be ways around it. And this is why work is going on now in February to get these players pretty much done, dusted, signed and over the line. Obviously, we can't obviously sign them until the window opens. But the majority of the work behind the scenes is being done. What it do, Adam? Let's see how Amorim goes against poor Spurs after 8 dedicated days of training. Well, it's not 8 dedicated days because the players are all on a break at the moment. So maybe it's going to be 5. He's given them a couple of days off. As a Sunderland fan, I think Job is a lot better than Rig, personally. See, this is the thing as well. Joe Bellingham has been linked with Manchester United and other Premier League clubs. Thanks for that as well, Will, for coming in and giving us that information. There are talents all over the Championship. We've seen it before. I don't think Premier League teams are willing to let the next Jude Bellingham go. I don't think anyone's taking a chance. I think the Championship is being scouted even more now because the quality in that division is that good. We've seen players come through from the Championship with promoted sides and just take to the Premier League instantly. I know it's a bit different when you're transferred in, or maybe you go to a big club, it's a bit nerve-wracking and everything can feel different. It's easier when you come up with your same teammates and you all adapt to the Premier League. But the proof is there that there are actually players that do come up and smash the Premier League instantly, like Tyler Diblin at Southampton, for instance, who United are also interested in. He's taken the Premier League by storm. He's playing brilliantly. Unfortunately for him, he's in a crap side in Southampton. But still, there's a player that's come up and adapted instantly. The players are getting better. You've had a player that's gone from bloody Birmingham in Jude Bellingham to Dortmund to now being one of the best players on the planet from the Championship. And this is why scouts are working overtime right now and why business is being done so quickly and early before windows are even open. You need to be on the mark and ready to go, which is why we've already heard a price for Giovanni Quenda for Manchester United. Emma says that Wesley is absolutely rubbish. Well, again, opinions and people that have been scouting or people that have been reporting have seen that there's plenty of big clubs interested in him. So, again, we will see, won't we? I love the new plan of bringing in youngsters. It could be the thing we've done. It could be the best thing we've done for years. I'm all for it, but still need some older, experienced heads in the team. Eric Ten Hag screwed the club with his horrendous transfers. Most fans want his players sold, which tells you how bad they were. From Almac, Diblim should be our. I think you said there. Gehen, top target. I think he is definitely up there. United need to spend around 250 million. City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Spurs and Forest will all spend big. We won't get half the players Amorim wants and need to stand still. If we stand still, we'll die. Yeah, that's another point there that you're making at the competition. Now, I'm talking about all of these players and I'm not expecting Manchester United to win them all, get them all. These are players that United are actively going for. Like Hugo Larsson, for instance, is attracting attention from everybody that we just mentioned. All of the top Premier League clubs. And let's not forget, like, arrogantly, we can say that it's all the top Premier League clubs coming in for these players. But you've got your Madrids, your Barcelonas, your Bayern Munichs, your Atletico Madrid. You've got all of these top European clubs all around Europe still vying for these players as well. We know, and I'm not saying this just because this is the way it goes, but the British players tend to stay in Britain. You'll have the odd one, like Jude Bellingham, who goes over to Dortmund. This was an absolute freak of a man who was mature beyond his years. He's just one of them players. He's not up there with the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, but he's just one of them raw talents that just knows. He knows his pathway. He already knew. He has his confidence in his ability. He's a freak of nature. He really is. You don't get many of them around. The majority of the British players stay in Britain, don't they? In British clubs, and it tends to be the norm. And I'm not saying that that's the way it should be. I want British players to go out and play in Europe and do better. I think it's good for the international side of things and the international team, but it just doesn't seem to happen. And it's easier to attract a British player to England, but then you play British tax, the price goes up. So it is a difficult situation. But when you're looking at the competition for Manchester United right now, say for instance you look at Hugo Larsson at Frankfurt, Swedish midfielder, strong, quick, energetic, gets up and down. His work rate is second to none. It's why he's attracting attention from all of the top clubs like we've just mentioned there. But you look at, for instance, at the teams we just mentioned there, Chelsea's, Liverpool's, City's, Arsenal's. Arsenal have got their hands on Zubimendi. Obviously, City are just making moves in the midfield department in their team as well, in what they've done this summer. I'm bringing more in still. Liverpool's midfield looks quite solid, to be honest. So when United are in for these players, you look at it, what can United offer that these other clubs can't? It's a guaranteed key role within the team. United are actively going to be replacing big players. And I think this is the biggest appeal for these younger players coming through right now. They're still young. If it doesn't work at United, they still have time, and they could be part of this bigger project. So Ineos and United will be selling this 2028 winning the Premier League. They will know that they'll be on a decent length contract, 5 to 6 years, but still, they've still got plenty of years left and can make a move to another European club if necessary. I think that's how, I've said it a minute ago, we have to sort of be very aware of the surroundings with the environment, with these younger players right now. It's not going to be that simple. It's not going to be easy to negotiate deals in and get them over the line, but we can offer more. United are definitely down the road with negotiations as well. I touched on this yesterday with Hugo Larsson, definitely from Frankfurt. He is the most expensive player. I think he's contracted until 2028 or 29, in fact, at Frankfurt. So it's going to take a good chunk of change. He's one of their high performers in a successful season. Obviously, you see Mamouche move from there to Manchester City as well. They have got a decent side, Frankfurt. So United are going to have to pay a high premium, I think, for players like that. 60 million is their price tag right now. They won't pay that. No one will pay that for him. I think the reality is he's down at around about 40 million right now. So maybe something in between. United won't be spending that much money, I don't think, on a young talent unless it's absolute best-in-class quality. This is more potential signings again. Would recommend Edison, 50 million. Again, that's the worry. Edison is that next calibre of player. He is a guarantee. Edison we've talked about a lot, and United are in for Edison. So that's the other end of the scale. And again, that's that transfer window in the summer, which is without European football and with European football. Does Edison want to drop out of Europe? If United don't win the FA Cup, don't win the Europa League, and we've got no European football to offer these players like Edison, the next down is, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way to these players we're talking about, but they are not of the experienced and ready-made quality of an Edison. That's the difference between a Larsson and an Edison right there. It's one comes in because Manchester United are offering him a deal where he isn't going to be in Europe, but he can be part of this new project and play a key role in the club. If we're in the Champions League, then obviously Edison becomes very available, and that's the split. 2 different transfer windows. But I do like the look of the reset, the complete reset personally. I'm bringing in players and developing players. When you look at it, this is all good and well. And this new age of player coming through and the younger players coming through is great. But still, are they of the quality to mature enough in time to challenge for the title and win it in 2028? Because we're going to hold Ineos to this. We're going to be asking questions like, you're saying that United, and you're making a big deal out of the 150th year anniversary, you're saying that United are going to win the Premier League in 2028. That's the mission. You're putting everything in place. That's the mission. It has to be starting from this summer. Something big has to happen this summer. Otherwise, that's a pipe dream. We are a million miles away. I think we're 5 years away from even challenging for it right now. So it's up to Ineos and United to prove to us the fans that they are serious about this, and these players that they are bringing in are of the right quality. And that leads us back into what Ruben says. And Ruben talking in Ineos tongue in saying we don't want to make the same mistakes that we've made before. We have to be very, very careful with the players that we bring in. High-level recruitment is needed by Manchester United for this summer. They have to be right, because I can see people in the chat right now, no, Chris Rigg, not good enough for Manchester United, not the player that everyone's talking about. The Sunderland fan that's just come on, Will, who said that Jude Bellingham is better than Chris Rigg, and that's an actual Sunderland fan. It has to be absolutely bang on the money. And I like Rigg. I like what he does. I like his style of play. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he's experienced at 17. He's second to none. And now in his full second season, like we said. And if you get him at the right price, I think he's a player you would want to bring in anyway. And an Edison. That's the sort of moves that Ineos are going to have to make to prove to Manchester United fans that they are serious, that we're going to be in that reckoning in 2028. Quendar for 33.5 million is a massive coup with him and Ahmad on the right-hand side. It would cause Premier League teams chaos. It would be a very good signing. Quendar, I think, is, and like you guys have all said there in the poll, he's the one that excites you most out of all the players that we're talking about this morning. We're best off doing business with smaller clubs because after January and their loans, it looks like we already pissed off PSG and Bayern last summer. I don't think we did. I think with PSG, let's just leave them alone. We don't need to be going back in for any of their players unless it's just absolute obvious and it's easy to do. We need to be clever with everything that we do right now. We need to be clever with all of our business, and that's what I'm talking about. It's got to be high-level recruitment. I can see a mix of players this summer. United aren't stupid anymore. They know their stuff. Edison would be a good start. Then a Cam. Even if they lose out to City for Wirtz, they can find another. They're not going to buy Wirtz. Wirtz is going to be a 100 million plus player. Ineos won't spend that. Thanks for that, JF, as well, buddy. Not a chance. I'm just taking Wirtz out of the equation. Don't even think that he would want to leave Leverkusen for Manchester United. I don't think Xabi Alonso would be keen to let him go to United. I know that sounds small talk, and he shouldn't think that way, but United are not going to spend 100 million. He's a £100 million player, without a doubt. He's contracted in, I think, for another 3 years from now anyway. It's going to take a stupendous bid. And if United haven't got Champions League football, which I'm pretty certain we're not going to have, unless, fingers crossed, Europa League, then we need to be realistic with our targets. We need to be realistic with who we're actually going for. And Wirtz is just a million miles away from United, I think. I like the idea, director of football, but I could never see that happening. I don't think they are right now. I think you have to sprinkle some experience with that. That will hold these guys in a standard with the right mentality. And this is where Bruno Fernandes comes into it. I don't see Bruno leaving this summer because I don't think we can get rid of everybody. But I think after next season, I think this is where United need to be starting to move the likes of Bruno Fernandes on. He's not going to go. I think the reality is you can't get rid of Eriksen, Casemiro and Bruno and lose all of that experience and then just bring in these younger players. Like, for instance, if Edison came in, you could maybe argue it a little bit. More experienced, quality player. But I can't see United. Unless a stupid bid comes in for Bruno Fernandes and he's happy to leave, I don't see it happening. I don't think we can lose that many midfielders. We do need some element of experience in there. And obviously we know that Bruno is the go-to man for Ruben Amorim right now. So I think when you look at that, I think it is Bruno maybe the year after. That's how I see it anyway. Amino with the super chat. Adam, I got Gail issues and I'm married. Pray for me. Pray for you. I'm doing enough praying for Man United at the moment, mate. I can't take on too much workload. I couldn't imagine anything worse than hearing we spent 100 million on one player right now. I'd seriously be worried about our future if that happened. It won't. There's no chance we could get him. Wirtz is key. That's your opinion, Adam. Wirtz is valued at 100 million, but that's never the price paid. Mate, 100 million. He's going to go for 100 million. I'm telling you right now, Leverkusen are not going to let him go. He isn't key. He is in a reality, Will, but we're not He's not in a reality world, sorry. He's not going to happen, mate. I'm telling you right now, he won't come to Manchester United. There's not a chance in hell. He is an absolute quality player, and I would love him at the football club. And he would be the difference if Manchester United signed him, but we're not getting him. We don't stand a chance in getting him. And the lack of quality we are playing with right now, even the likes of Wirtz would look less in this team, which is why a lot needs to go and a lot needs to come in. And then this new kickstart to Manchester United starts. I think the fresh vision for this football club is of moulding a team rather than buying the team instantly. I get that we need some quality players in now, and we have to get the right players in now. But I don't think we're going to be buying. I think, for instance, if I was picking out two obvious big signings, it's like the Gyökeres and Ederson. I think they're the two. If you get them two in, that changes Manchester United instantly. It does. Because I think we would bring Quenda in as well. You're starting to mould something very dynamic then, in a completely different way quality-wise. You could be throwing the ball out to all of these players and you know they're going to do something with it and they're not going to melt under the pressure of Old Trafford's floodlights, because a lot of players are doing that right now. You're talking about, and when I say high-level recruitment, you're going into the mental strength of these players. You're looking at what they have gone through. You're looking at the full history of this player's footballing career to make sure that he fits and he's able to handle what's coming his way. Because the scrutiny and the criticism, is higher at United than anywhere else in the world. Maybe Madrid, Barcelona. These are the only clubs that can compete with United in terms of the pressure and the overall media look on the football clubs. Manchester United are a nightmare for it, and we would destroy players. We've seen it before. We destroyed world-class players' careers. Absolutely flattened them. Into more we go. Wirtz is the cherry on top of the cake. Right now we have no cake. Just better splattered all over the kitchen, the sides, the ceiling, the dog. It's a big clean-up act, that, mate. Villa and Newcastle are more attractive clubs for up-and-coming players than United right now. We have to make it look attractive. That's the difference. What about Malachi Sharp from United's youth team? He looks very good. He had a good game the other night, mate, but he hasn't been the outstanding player already this season. There are options in the academy, but they are very young options. We've touched on this before. Manchester United will tap into their academy players. Sekou Kone is one that I think will be making an appearance next season. Chido, possibly. But I think right now, this is where United are looking at. It's like, could Kone feature? He's going to feature in pre-season, definitely. And he will. He is that type of player. At 19, we're talking Chris Riggs. We're talking Quendas. We're talking Larsens here. Sekou Kone is in that bracket. He's just not had the experience. Do you throw him right in to Manchester United side? Could we save ourselves a fortune in bringing Sekou Kone into midfield? They're the decisions that are going on right now. And when I say high-level recruitment, is this player going to do a better job than maybe one of our players coming through from the academy? That's what you've got to look out. Without a big signing in January, Man United might have blown the chance of winning the Europa League. We'll see on that one, won't we, mate? Villa played some really lovely football yesterday. Would love to see us playing like that. You do. You need a team that is fully behind the manager, though, and I don't think we are. I don't. It does look in time, especially against Leicester, it looked at times like they weren't behind Ruben Amorim. And Ruben's got a big job, as we all know. Babs is in the house as well. What about the goalie? Yeah, we are going to be looking into the goalkeeping situation as well. There are definite options for United coming into the summer. I don't think, and I'm going to make this statement now, I don't think Andre Onana will be United's number one keeper next season. That's my statement. I really don't. I really don't. Let's just see now. So we've got now. We could have players like Wirtz if Erik ten Hag had spent the 616 million creating a foundation. Erik ten Hag wasted the money, so we can't buy world-class players. Got to build the foundations first. So we've got the outside world can see the changes happening just like we can. Man United is still a very attractive option for players who wouldn't want to be part of the project to put United back on top. I think appealing for younger players is, for me, I think looking at it, let's just see. When you look at what a younger player and his agent are looking at right now, and you go into Manchester United and where we're at, and everybody's seen Manchester United, everyone knows what's going wrong at Manchester United. They've seen the results, they've seen everything that's going on the pitch. You've got to look at that and you've got to say, well, if it is a fresh start and you are part of a new team, so it's like a whole new team's just gone in, you are the new Manchester United. The old guard has gone and you are the new. You are part of this brand new Manchester United side and you have got all of this fan base behind you and this now could be your future. That, I think, is appealing for younger players. And you could call me just looking at that through my red-tinted glasses, but how the hell else are you going to sell Manchester United? You need to sell to these players the future of this football club is in your hands. You are now Manchester United's return to glory. That's how you've got to sell it. It's the only way you can sell it. Chris Rigg will go to Newcastle. Him and his family are from Newcastle, and they are massive Newcastle fans. Newcastle have already inquired. Yes, they have, but will Sunderland sell to Newcastle? I don't think so. And obviously, Newcastle have not got a lot of money. They need Champions League football this summer. Otherwise, they're going to have to sell some of their big players to try and make money. That's a big call on an R. No, it's not really, is it? I don't think it is. Get Mbumo, get Erasmus out on loan to Brentford. He will shine under Thomas Frank. We talked about that Rasmus Højlund loan, didn't we, the other day? I think it works for him. Brian says, outside of Quenda and Gyökeres, I am comfortable with us buying young players with tons of potential in the next transfer window. But I think that's supposed to say, we can't let that window end without buying a goalkeeper. I don't think we will, mate. I really don't, Brian. I think we will have to bring in a goalkeeper. We have wasted money on players for as long as I know. It's why we are where we are. Steady decline. Yeah, and it needs to change. Ryan Giggs said that, didn't he, in terms of the last 10 years the other day, talking about where Manchester United are. It's because of the last decade's investment being so poor. We've said it many a times. Nobody's under any illusion about where Manchester United have gone wrong. Love to see Isaac at United. Never going to happen. Another one that would be brilliant. United have only got players in recently by overpaying for them. If that's now gone, how do you get the players in? I just explained it then, Chris, in terms of the project and them being young and maybe having clauses in their contracts. I did just say that, but that's the only way United can do it. They have to be savvy and clever, which is why we're talking about it now in February, because that work is now going on. United are working overtime behind the scenes and need to make sure. And United do still have the option there. You know what I mean? They do still have that law, not an option, sorry, that law. And I think personally, that's how Manchester United have to approach these deals. I think there has to be a promise of game time more than anything. You could be that player, and if it's not working in a few years, you could literally go. And then you could, what's the name? Then you could actually, with that, you could look at the futures of all of these players and just say to them, look, this is our aim. This is when we're going to be winning the league. This is what we expect you to provide. This is what we think is going to happen. And this is how we sell Manchester United. We have to. The new stadium. In a few years, you could be playing in the best stadium in Europe. So what we got to do is just try, again, to just get into these agents, get into these players. And we just need to look at it that way, I think. I think that's the ultimate goal. I think what we have to do is future plan for Manchester United. We just need to get out there that there is a real potential for success down the line, but it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why we're investing in players that we think are actually going to bring this success a few years down the line. We want to build this up as a team, not just an individual player coming in. You're not fitting into a side right now. You're coming in to be this side right now, if that makes sense. That's where United have to approach it. That's how United have to do it, I think. And do you know what? I think that's what we said a long time ago, but we just seem to have just moved away from it. United have always invested in the right type of younger players back in the day, but they already had a good team to work with. Now we're starting from scratch. It does seem like we are starting from scratch. And what we're looking at, for me, right now, is a complete overhaul and a completely new team. That's the problem we've got right now. And it's a problem, but it's a fresh start as well. So, while the problem looks like it's impossible, we're never going to solve it. And I can tell just by the chat, like, people are not convinced by all of these players coming in. We need better players. We need better players. I just don't think we're there. I don't think we are that team challenging right now. We have to act like a mid-table team that's going to bring in the potential to become a better team. But they have to do it together. Individuals coming in here and there, and players coming in that haven't lasted 2 or 3 years. I mean, we need to be looking at players that are going to be part of Man United's side for the next 7 to 8 years. That's the type of play we need to be looking at right now. Look at everything that Erik ten Hag's brought in, for instance, in the last 2 years. It's all quick fix. It's all players that now are looking like we want out of the football club. It just wasn't the right approach. And Ineos have made a stance and a start on this with the age and the profile of play that we brought in the summer, thinking that Ten Hag was going to be behind this. What we have to look at is now, realistically, United are where we are in the league because of that. And now we have to act like we are a mid-table side, sadly, and build from there. Because this is where we're talking about 3 years down the line. We're not talking about now. We have to be real. It's like now, these players come in. Next season, we need to be challenging to get near the top 4. We might not make the top 4. But then we still got 1 more year with younger players again who are going to get better. And then we had a little bit more in that transfer window. But this is the foundation right now to Manchester United. We need to be in the top 4 next season. That has to be United's target. If we don't, then obviously these players are still young and we can still plan around that as well. And they can get better. But the difference there is it's like Casemiro coming in and all of them transfers that came in under Ten Hag. We made it into the top 4. Woo, thank God we're back now. No, we won't. We dropped off even worse the season after. These players have to want more and more and more and develop and develop and develop throughout the years. So they have to be the right talent. They have to be the best young talent. And you do need to just have that little sprinkling of experience alongside it. I think that is key. I think that's where Manchester United's recruitment needs to be going down, or the road it needs to be going down anyway, I should say. We need to build a Stanel base and add top players. 1 or 2 top players doesn't change us. Look at the past. No, it doesn't do anything. 1 or 2 top players when you've got the foundation and a good side in definitely works, but not now. We need 5 or 6 minimum players in that are going to be first team players and going to play under Ruben Amorim. If they're younger players or a bit more experienced players, this summer has to be half a team, half a starting lineup team coming into Manchester United, and you need to back Ruben on that. Because if they are younger players, we need to get behind them younger players if they're going to be the starters for Man United going forward. I think that's what you have to look at. We need to sell the future to the targets. I'm not sure what that means there, Dorothy, sorry. And concentrate on that. Football is cynical. If Harry Kane's too old, so is Paul Pogba. I don't know if that's a conversation that's been going on with some other people, but they're 2 players that won't be getting near Man United's side. We have been a castle built on sand over the last 10 years, and that sand has gradually been sinking. Let's see what else. So when we're talking about players that are in the way, who are we talking about in our last game? In terms of players that are in the way, I think everybody knows who they are. I think you're talking players realistically for me. I think right now Dalot is one of them players. I think we're too reliant on him. I really do. I think you have to make a decision on Rasmus Højlund. It's another player. I'm not keen on Kobbie Mainoo right now. I think he's a squad player at best who has to learn, and the pressure needs to be taken off him for being a first-team player again. I think the hype that we built him up with, I think Garnacho's in that category as well. I think his squad players to come in. I don't think they're starters going forward. I think they are players that will work for United in the future, but I think they have to understand that they're part of this new project right now. And the confidence has been shot. But I think the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho, I think if they're part of a younger, developing Manchester United side going forward, I think they prosper even more. Yeah, again, you do need that experienced talent, but they've been thrust into an environment of poisonous player power FC. We do what we want, Manchester United squad. And they've been scarred by what they have witnessed and what's happened at this club since they broke through into the first team. It's completely wrong. I think they're both salvageable because the culture at this football club is changing now, and I think we will get more out of them. I think there is a chance for both Kobbie and Garnacho, but I still hold on to what I said last night. Sadly, they are a victim of the last 10 years, and they could be the ones that are sold to fund this rebuild of Manchester United, sadly. And that's what will piss this fan base off a lot. I understand it. Almost at 300 live likes, everybody. Please give the video a like. Make sure you have hit that subscribe button as well, everyone. We are growing. We are getting there closer to 75k. Let's keep it going, everybody. Be part of the journey. Into the chat again. The targets are the players we are aiming for. Cynical just means that success comes in cycles. I don't believe in cycles. I don't. I think if your recruitment's right, I think if you are fully focused on football and winning trophies, then there is no cycles. There really isn't. I mean, you only have to look at Madrid, you look at Barcelona, you look at Bayern Munich, you look at the big Italian clubs that have fallen by. If your target is full on winning football games then and winning trophies, then there shouldn't be cycles. You've got to make sure your recruitment is right. And this is the difference. I think what Sir Alex did was good. Like, he built different squads, he built different teams, knowing that the players were moving out. And some of the players that he moved out, we were all scratching our heads at the time, weren't we? But that's how it goes. You need to make sure that your next line is in there. So United right now, you could say, are bringing in younger players that are going to be there for years down the line, and they're going to develop into the right type of player. Well, it's hope, it's fingers crossed, and you never know, but that has to be the aim. And then you just add in. You should only need to buy 1 or 2 players every summer. You should have a good core. And what work United are doing behind the scenes in buying cheap players, bringing them into our academy as well, I think that's the right way to go for United. Because in the future, them players are going to be the ones that step in. Your Kones, your Leons, your Eden Heavens, these type of players that cost United nothing, Chido Bobby Martins, they're the ones you're hoping are going to step in and be part of this squad as well. And maybe 1 or 2 of them will be a first-team player. But these are the players that are going to come in and fill the gaps for Manchester United as well. Everything is being moved into place, and we are moving in the right direction. It's just going to take time. Patience is needed. Shane O'Hare, welcome to the Members Club, gifted by London. Thank you, mate. That pretty much finishes up our show this morning, everybody. Great show. Good to look at the possibilities of the future and everything going forward. I will be back later this evening as well. Normal time for everybody. Make sure that you got your bell notification on. You are subscribed to the channel. Give this video a like before it finishes as well. That should take us up well past the 350 live like mark, everyone. I just want to say again, massive thank you to everyone for coming on in the morning. I will be back later. Keep tuned. If anything does break of significance, I will be live. I will be going on to Football Talks. We've got a special video coming up there later on as well. So doing more content on that channel as well this week with some specialist subjects. So check that out. The link is in the live chat right there. So make sure that you are tuned in for that and go and subscribe to our other channel as well. But for now, here on Forever United TV, thank you, everybody. I'll see you all later on.